B61, Madam.
Madam Speaker, I'm replying to PQ B61 and B66 together as they relate to the same issue. Madam Speaker, as I indicated in my reply to PQ B633, on 31st October 2017, the Ministerial Committee on Electoral Reform has already submitted its recommendations on the issues which had been raised by the Attorney General's Office in regard to the proposed financing of political parties bill. I wish to inform the House that the recommendations made by the Ministerial Committee have already been approved by Cabinet, and further drafting instructions have accordingly been conveyed to the Attorney General's Office for the finalization of the financing of political parties bill. Appropriate consultations will be held on the draft bill in due course, and the bill will be introduced into the National Assembly as soon as it is ready. Madam Speaker, I am informed that apart from the financing of political parties, the Ministerial Committee has also been addressing the other issues in its terms of reference. The Ministerial Committee has so far met on 13 occasions, and it last met on the 11th of September 2017. However, I am informed that the committee has also had several informal working sessions to address the most complex issues raised in its terms of reference. I am given to understand that another meeting of the Ministerial Committee is scheduled for tomorrow in order to pursue discussions on the remaining issues in its terms of reference. Madam Speaker, since electoral reform touches upon the fundamental aspects of our democracy, appropriate consultations will be held on the draft bills in due course, in line with our commitment to adopt a consultative approach in matters relating to our Constitution.
Yes,
One supplementary, sir. The Prime Minister stated that consultation will be held with parties concerned. Can the Prime Minister inform the House whether the draft bill would be circulated, giving wide publicity that everybody can compete, I would say, give their views, even those who are not even in Parliament, political parties who are in Parliament, those who are outside, that this process of consultation be widely done?
My personal opinion, Madam Speaker, that it should be so, because it is a matter which is of great and fundamental importance. But obviously, I will seek the guidance of Cabinet before proceeding for consultations.
If you have any more? Madam Speaker, may I ask the Honourable Prime Minister how many times the committee met in 2017? You said the last time was September. How many times did it meet?
On the 11th of September 2017, once in September in 2017.
Yes, Bhagwan.
I was chairman of that commission.
One question.
I was chairman, of course, of that commission. I'd like to ask in another life, I'd like to ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether the recommendations made by Cabinet on to the State Law Office on the 1st of April 2016 relating to transparency, registration, state financing of political parties, whether these recommendations are the same now or whether there have been any changes to these.
Well, the matter is being worked out, and as I have said, the recommendations have been made by members of this ministerial meeting. There have been consultations with other institutions also, and there have been discussions with those who are concerned, and the instructions have been given to the Attorney General's office for drafting of the bill. Now, I think the honourable member should be slightly patient, because eventually it will depend on whether we agree that it will be circulated for further consultations by other political parties or public. If not, it will definitely come before this House for debates.
Yes, Honourable Bhagwan.
We know from the Prime Minister whether we expect to have this bill before the end of this year.
I should hope so, depending obviously on what type of consultations we are looking for. If it has to be ventilated in the public, and by the time we probably look at the reactions from different quarters, it will all depend on the process that we adopt before obviously coming to a decision to bring this bill before this before this House.
Honourable Ramalho.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Le terms of reference de ce ministerial committee implique aussi proportional representation, granting better women representation. Il y a aussi la question de financing of political parties. Là, il y a seulement l'aspect de financing qui est présentement abordé. Est-ce que le comité est en train de prendre en considération tous ces items qui sont prévus par le terms of reference, ou bien nous allons procéder étape par étape, financing of political parties, ensuite nous allons parler de la représentation proportionnelle.
Madam Speaker, the committee is looking into all the aspects with regard to the terms of reference which have been prescribed for this ministerial committee to look at. As obviously as and when there is anything which has been concluded or which is nearing conclusion, I suppose we will be moving ahead. So the other issues are still being worked out by this ministerial committee, and as and when any need to come to the House for a bill, we will do so.
Honourable Bhulel.
Madam Speaker, it is clear that government does not have the political will and is unnecessarily delaying the process. And I hope government weigh the consequences very carefully, because the consequences are intended and intended. And I have in mind the case lodged by Resistance and Alternative before the Privy Council.
Yes. Also
and if
question,
the
Honourable
ruling,
Bhulel. Yes.
sorry?
Also question.
Yes, this is the question. And if the ruling goes in favor of Resistance and Alternative, we know what the consequences would be.
No,
in
don't
respect
make a statement. Honourable Bhulel, please don't make a statement. We have spent so much time on this question, and there's one more member who wants to ask a supplementary question. Please go straight to your question.
Yeah. It is clear. Can I ask the Prime Minister then that he would have no choice but to expedite, because we know what the consequences are. Government will not have time to come with provisional transition and to an amendment to the Constitution. And we know what the consequences are.
Yes, Honourable Bhulel, please sit down. Please sit down. You've also questioned. Allow the Honourable Prime Minister to reply.
Madam Speaker, the honourable member has the cheek to say before this House that government has no political will to go ahead with regard to these issues. There is no need for me to remind the honourable member that he has been in government, and not only been in government, I hope supposedly a prominent member of the Labour Party. And from 2005 to 2014,
Please, no interruption, please.
you were
No, Honourable Bhulel, please.
2005 to 2014. I don't know what they were doing. They were, if we take everything that has been said by the then Prime Minister and the rest about each time that they would be coming forward. They even, I would say, prevented Parliament from functioning in 2004 for nearly 9 months, working on supposedly these amendments to be brought to the Constitution, electoral reform, financing of political parties, and so on. They were just concentrating on these issues. They forgot about the people then. They forgot about the country. And they had the cheek now to say, since we are here, time will tell whether we are going to deliver or not. Time will tell. I'm not saying that, I'm not boasting that we will come before this House with such and such bill. But we will see. So you just be patient. We are working. It is a complex issue. The electoral reform, the honourable member is talking about the case of resistance and alternative. We all know that. We all know that the difficulty that the former government had in order to come forward with an amendment and what were the objections to the amendment. So I won't go into that. So let us work and try to see whether we can come to a conclusion. I will leave the committee to keep on its work, and it will come to cabinet, and eventually, obviously, we will decide on this.
I'll allow a last question for Honorable Ganu. Last question, please be brief.
I'll pick up on what the Prime Minister has just said, Madam Speaker. Is this ministerial committee reflecting and proposing to come with recommendations regarding the specific issue of the legal requirement of a candidate at general elections to declare his community as a condition of eligibility to stand for election? Is the committee reflecting and proposing to come with recommendation on this issue, especially as the last bill, which you just mentioned, was only for the previous elections of 2014?
Yeah, because we know what is the difficulty, and precisely I can tell the House that the committee is looking at this issue also.